became a member of Wesley. My first mission trip was 2018, that I went down to Tapachula, Mexico, and then I went to Santa Elena, Honduras. So I've been to 8 mission trips. And this year was probably the best trip that I've had. It was wonderful. And I have known these children, some of them since they were 3 months old, and now they're 7 years old. And so to watch them grow, to watch them thrive. So I have just a short introduction here. We have a lot of information to cover. We're always looking for people to join our team. Some of us are aging out. Yes. But I plan to go a couple more years, so we'll be fine. And so I'd like to read to you just a little background of Mission on the Move. Mom became a nonprofit in 1986 under the leadership of retired Methodist minister Reverend Ed Cadle. Papa Ed, as he was affectionately known, served the Lord in a full career as a pastor, and upon retirement received a second calling on his life to minister to the people of Central America. He traveled regularly to Honduras and Mexico to deliver aid, from digging wells in communities needing clean water to converting retired school buses into mobile clinics with living quarters for local traveling doctors, to meeting human crisis needs at the borders for refugee families fleeing violence in their home countries. Papa Ed was always on the move to minister to the needs of the people. Today, Mom continues to serve orphaned and vulnerable children through our 4 pillars of ministry: family preservation, Christian discipleship, nutrition, and education. Through our education program and full-time family-style children's homes, thousands of children have received the love of Jesus, a full stomach, a life-changing education, and a safe and loving family to call their own. Mom is 40 years old. Just a little aside, my son Matt, who's 47 years old, when he was at Georgia Southern as a senior, he traveled to Honduras. He met Papa Ed and his wife. He was with his Spanish club. He was at Georgia Southern, as I said. And so when my first trip, I stayed in the same place, same room that he did. So it was just kind of one of those fortuitous things that you never figured that something that happened so long ago would repeat itself. I'm very happy to represent Mom. I'm on the board of directors now for coming on 2 years. Any questions that you have about it, I'll be happy to ask. We do have a budget line for Mission on the Move in our missions committee, which we all know that money is always something that everybody is concerned about. We're very transparent about how much we spend. Most of the money that we spend on these mission trips is donations. It's money that's budgeted, and it's a wonderful, wonderful experience. I would encourage anyone that's halfway interested to take it, get out of your safety zone, to try something new, as I did. I just needed a change in my life, and it was just what the doctor ordered, what God ordered. So we'll start our thing, and Alice was a member of our group this year, and she's just a fabulous person. Okay.
Thank you.
And
I've been on this trip twice now, and at the beginning of each of the trips, our missionary AJ asks us to define poverty. And throughout the week, your definition of poverty is radically changed. And it happened 2 years ago, and it's happened to me again. It's almost bringing me to tears that you think about poverty in a whole new way. And it does touch your life, it changes your heart, and it breathes life into Scripture.
I wouldn't say so much change, but confirm that God provides. And it always, the right people are in the right place at the right time, and whatever goes wrong, something or someone appears to fill the spot that's needed. And that happened again this year.
My first trip here was March 2018. And my faith has grown so much over the years. God is truly present in and of and through everything here on the campus of the Oaks of Righteousness and the major campus here. Also, I have come to know that God, our God, and our Holy Spirit and Jesus Christ can live in your heart. It can change you in so many ways. Your faith grows, your love grows, and you know that humility is something that we all can share. Love and humility. My arms and my heart go out to these children, the teachers, and God is truly present.
This trip changed me because it helped me see what ownership the local Hondurans take of everything that goes on here, how proud they are of all their children who take part, and how proud they are in the work that they do themselves here.
Sure, Jesus says, let the children come unto me, for to such belong the kingdom of God. And whenever I'm here, I truly feel like I'm in the kingdom of God. And actually on Google Maps, I have a little heart dropped on this hilltop in Santa Elena, so that when there are times in my life that I feel far from Christ, I can look at that little heart on Google Maps, and I know there is the kingdom of God. And if it's on the mountain, it's Santa Elena, I know I can find it anywhere in this world. So that's how my faith, every time I just need to know the kingdom of God is with us, I open up Google Maps, I find that little heart for Santa Elena.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you all again. Before we start the presentation, I want to give you a little background. Every year, our AJ lets us know what is needed down there, and then we put together sort of a program and activities. So this year, he wanted to honor the 9 little girls who live at the orphanage, make them feel really special for a day, and also their mothers. There's 3 full-time moms, 2 weekend moms, and 2 psychiatrists on. Right? So we came up with the idea of a tea party, and we started planning this tea party back in October. I made lists of everything that would be needed in the kitchen, because not every kitchen has everything you need. Everything would be needed to serve. And he was out buying tablecloths and napkins at the local Goodwill store. So we would have everything on site when we arrived. And so even though you're going to see our faces up here, many of you were behind the scenes making this possible through your personal support and donations. Like, we tried to find everything in country. What were some of the things we couldn't find? Teapots. They don't drink tea. So teapots, loose leaf tea, and a few other items. So fortunately, Becky West stepped up and loaned us 2 teapots to take on the trip to be able to have our tea party. So, okay, we can start now. Oh, and the other thing they wanted was new dresses for each little girl to wear. And people at the church bought dresses for these little girls. They're ages 7 through 16. Okay. Next slide. Yeah, go ahead. You got the girls?
Yeah, this is the preparing.
No, I want the girls, where we gave out the dresses.
Oh, right here.
Yeah. Ah, okay. Okay, you want me to look here? Sorry, all this technology. So anyway, the first thing we did when we got there on Saturday morning to the orphanage was to bring the girls together and hand them out their new dresses. And you should have seen how big their eyes got when we said everyone was going to get 2 new dresses. And one thing we noticed about when we handed out, nobody was jealous of what anybody else got. They were all just very, very excited and happy. Okay. So then we had 2 hours to get this tea party ready. And I had Miss Ann and Charlene were in charge of arranging the room and decorating. And Skip was in charge of teaching the young boys how to serve and supervising the service. And AJ helped in them. So while they were in the preparing these beautiful tables that you see, the decorations and flower arrangements, we had our little kitchen crew down there chopping and dicing and slicing.
It was a madhouse.
Yes.
In a small house.
In a very small house that the lightning had taken out the electric water heater, so we had no hot water. And I opened the stove to think about starting it, and it was filled with cobwebs. So we didn't have time to clean all that up, so we decided they'd burn off in the preheat. And
It worked.
and then the really thing we never planned for was the weekend before we went, they had no time in recorded Honduran history had they had weather as cold as it was. So when we were on that mountaintop, it was like 50 degrees, and we couldn't keep the butter soft enough to spread on the bread. So anyway, everybody found their spot, and they all just performed magnificently. I always like to give Scott a chance to go back to his childhood, so I put him in charge of cutting the crust off the bread, because that's what his grandmother had him do when she prepared for her Mission Society luncheons. So he was happy, and he produced perfect squares. And so anyway, so we finally got it all ready to go, and then Miss Ann always raises things another level. She brought fascinators to give to each of the little girls that you can see there. And they were out in the side. And Skip, not to be left behind, he comes up with the idea of having each little girl announced as she enters the room on the arm of a boy, and she was processed in. Well, we don't have a real picture of that, but that's sort of the end of the procession, and these two happen to be brother and sister. So that was just precious to see them, how special they were. And then you can see, I think, some of the treats that were prepared. And the thing about during the serving, this little boy, Daniel, he was smiling everywhere, and he was being so professional about it. And at the end of the tea, he came to my table and said to his psychiatrist, who was in the front, he said, "You know, I can be a waiter when I grow up." So I thought that was really great, that he could see a future for himself, you know. So then we did take time to take pictures, family pictures, and everything to leave with them. And they did all say that that they were blown away by the event. They all felt very special, and their mothers felt very special. And then this was just to show you how this was on Saturday. The tea party was on Saturday. Monday was the first day of school, and Esther comes to school with her fascinator, and and her matching hair. Yes, she had her mother weave purple weaves in there to match it. So anyway, a great time.
Okay, hi everybody. So in addition to having a tea party, that same day we had, a group of us went and had essentially a cooking class. We learned how to make tortillas the proper way, the easy way, and the super easy way, which is you need a press. The press honestly does the trick for you, because doing this by hand, I just can't. We tried this. Poor Alice and I, we dropped them on the floor. They still cooked them. It's like, no one can eat this. It just looks so bad. But it was a great time to just get to know the moms a little bit more. It was great for us to learn how to do something that they do every day.
They make 150 tortillas a day.
Thank you. I'm bad at numbers, so thank you for remembering that. So this large pile of tortillas that we ended up making by the end of our little tortilla class was, okay, it's lunchtime. We're going to use these for lunch today.
The 20 that we
So,
made.
yeah, the sad little number that we made that looked so horrible. But it turned out all right in the end. It was just a really great experience. It was so fun to just get to know these moms, and that they work so well together. They're so excited. They love these kids, and you can really tell that. So,
Yeah, the day of rest.
Hola, otra vez. We went on, of course, on Sunday, day of rest, Sabbath made for mankind, not mankind for the Sabbath, as Mr. Ben, Reverend Ben always says. And so AJ had a church service for us. We had communion. We went to the market and got fresh fruit. Let me see. And we had, let's see what else. Oh, yeah. And then a group went on the boat. The lake, Hyundai is, in English, it's the yacht club. It's not anything like a yacht club, but locals do go there on the weekend. There are boats, and the lake was very high this year, higher, so you couldn't really go out, but they took a group on the boat, and they have tilapia farms on the lake, which are sold to Publix and Kroger. And they serve tilapia every way that you can imagine, fried, whole, just nuggets. Yes, right. So anyway, and then this what you see on the highway, they're drying coffee beans. And they're very adaptable, and someone will stay there with the coffee overnight. And when in the tilapia farms, they live on the farm, and then they, just to make sure no one's going to come take any fish. And let's see what else. Is there anything else? But the fresh fruit, it's very common, and if those of you that are savvy travelers and all, that many people they go to the market daily to get their food. So many times they would just go to the market, and the fruit was so good. There was a fruit that I never tried before called annona, which looked like a little tiny hard ball, and you opened it up and it was seeds and just very different. So we did observe the Sabbath, which was very nice, and we had a nice rest.
and back again. So credit where credit is due. When we went to Mexico last year with the youth, Maggie had this great idea that we would do tie-dye with the kids at Mom's site in Tapachula, Mexico. And I just had so much fun with it. I figured day one of VBS, we should make the biggest mess possible. So we did a whole lesson on tie-dye. There's no Spanish word for tie-dye. So when we were trying to explain it to them, they don't know what it is. They're not quite sure. So kind of explaining to that and talking to them about how, you use a lot of different colors and it makes a beautiful design in the end. And the same way, God takes all of our experiences, takes all of our choices and everything, and he mixes it all, and he has a beautiful plan for each of our lives. So we did about 75 little tie-dyed bandanas. I'm going to have Charlene's, for example, because hers is really pretty. So there we go. So yes, so we made a lot of fun spirally bandanas. And it was great. Nobody got messed up. Nobody died. We got we got a little bit of dye on one little girl's shirt. She didn't do it while tie-dyeing. She waited till the end, and she was helping the teacher clean up. And it was a white shirt, so it can be bleached. We're okay. So we had a really fun time doing that. And then afterward, you have to let it sit for 24 hours. We sit down and we start preparing it to rinse it out, get it ready to give the kids back. And they're just so excited. They're like, "Ooh, what's this?" And so honestly, I'm standing there with my hands covered in dye, and I'm just being watched by like a little swarm of children. This is really funny. We let them dry overnight. The next day we brought them and we started handing them out to all the kids, and everyone's so excited. "Oh, how'd yours turn out? What did yours look like?" And then we tried to show them how you wear your bandana. So I wore mine as a little hair bow, but that was not the popular choice. Skip decided to be a ninja. So we had a bunch of little tie-dye ninjas running around the campus for the rest of the day. It was just really fun to play with them and to get to do that together.
Very fun.
Of course, yes, Skip and I can't resist a little liturgical dance. So we try to bring easy things for the children to express themselves with. So I did it 2 years ago. We take a pencil and put a length of surveyor's tape on it, and they become an instant ribbon, cinta. And the children could play, use them in circle. We would do arco iris, which means rainbow, and we would do montañas, the mountains. And so anyway, they had a lot of fun expressing themselves, and Skip goes wild. See, you can see any type of interlude in the music, Skip's taking the stage. He's just feeling it. Another thing I wanted to mention too, one of the days we were on the mountain, there was no power all day. And of course, the Americans are like, oh, there's no power. It happens to them all the time. So they don't, they just carry on, work goes on, things happen. In rinsing out all the tie-dye, we didn't realize, but we emptied their cistern. So we don't think about those kinds of things. We just kind of go the way we go, and then, so anyway, we were humbled a little bit by our first world needs. But it's so wonderful to see that the children, they come to us, they see this all the time, because they have different mission groups come in throughout the year. And every mission group comes in with its new idea and its plan and everything. And the teachers adapt. It's just so wonderful to see the kids. You ask the kids, all right, everyone, let's stand up. Everybody stands up. Let's sit down. Everybody sits down. Time to listen. They listen. They got really excited with the tie-dye, I have to say. But for the most part, such beautifully obedient, wonderful, thoughtful children, and no jealousy among themselves. They're so supportive of each other. It's just beautiful. And as you can see, we're in kind of a cramped space. There's a lot going on. We brought some projects. Charlene's going to talk more about how they connected with the Bible study. But things had to be handed out. Things had to be put into bags and different things. And this girl right here, Sarah is her name, Sarah, and she's the daughter of Hessie. Hessie is the director of the mission. And Hessie's English is unbelievable. She's such a help to us throughout the whole program, and she's just kind of quietly behind the scenes, and we just really adore her. She's so helpful everywhere. But as you can see, children got lots of chances to try activities, to connect with people. Charlene got to reconnect with some of her kids. We all just, it's kind of organized chaos in a beautiful way. And they're all so excited to take their projects home. And when you see the houses later, some of these become the artwork in the home. So,
Okay, I'm here to introduce you to Eve Behrens. He's not a member of our church, but he's been on this mission twice. He's a good friend of Scott Cleveland's, and Eve was like one of the people God just dropped into our group this year, and in the perfect spot. He likes to be a chef, and he's got 40 years in the service industry. So he came with lots of supplies in kitchen utensils and gadgets that the Pasita can use, and she was very happy to receive. So when we did the crust cutting off of the sandwiches on Saturday, he bagged it all up and made a banana pudding that he served to the kids on Monday. And so he spent most of his time in the kitchen helping prepare the food for the children every day that we were there. A wonderful, generous man.
Miss Charlene, that's me too.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
No,
What's the next one?
Miss Charlene.
No, that's Charlotte.
This is the 14, the disciples.
So I think you can hear me. Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
people at home might not be able to.
Are we zooming it? Okay. All right. Hi again.
There you go.
Well, I'll stand here. Well, it's easier if I use this. Does that work? Hello, hello. Okay. So, of course, every year we have Vacation Bible School. I do Vacation Bible School here for the Wesley children in the summer. So, we decided is because the tie-dye and everything that we did was the theme of all-inclusiveness. We decided that coming to the table through the tea party, through interaction with the children, eating with them and interacting with them, that we would talk about the disciples, because we're approaching Easter. And I ordered a book on the disciples. It was in Spanish. Of course, it did not arrive until after we were home. But it was just a little, but I'll take it down again next year for the review, or I'll send it with another team. So what we did is we went ahead and of each group of children, we picked 12 children out of the group, and each of them represented a disciple. And they had a little paragraph to read about the disciple, which went very, very well. And as Ann pointed out, the kids are very attentive. I don't know if someone's threatening them behind the scenes or what, but they've always been so wonderful. They come and they just absorb everything that we do. So we had projects for them. We did a cross that you could put in the window and it would capture the light. We did a cross that they could color. We did just several little activities for them. And then so here you can see that the kids were reading, of course, in Spanish, and they did very, very well, and they were very composed. And then and many of them had not really known anything about the disciples. And to tell you the truth, when you look up the disciples, we know who it was just a review for me to know a little bit about them. They were very humble. They were very different. They came from different backgrounds. Of course, we always think of fishermen, but there was the tax collector. There were ones that were rebellious. There was ones that Jesus really had to talk to convince them that they were doing the right thing, and we can all, relate to that. And so the lesson was very well received, and I think that when we left, that there was just that they knew a little bit more about that. Last year, we were able to give each child a hardback Bible, which many of them had never had a hardback book of their own. So they kept them in the classroom, and so we referred to that too, to let them know that difference is fine, and they were very receptive.
Okay. Hi, I'm Skip. I think most of y'all know me. I get to talk about our little manners course that Joanne put together, executed, and demonstrated just outstandingly, while the rest of us just with the youth group. I should start with the youth group. This was with the youth group. Most of our other things were with the younger kids, age like first grade to about sixth grade, about what our children's choir is. But the youth group is, from there up until, from seventh grade up until 16, 17 years old. So this was one of the 2 times that we got to spend with the youth group, and Joanne had her manners course, and it was exactly what you need: greetings, table manners, and that I guess that was my part. And then I wrapped it up with ties, how to tie a tie. Both the girls and the guys did the tying of the ties, because even as a girl, you'll have to tie your husband's tie once in your life. But it was just expertly done by Joanne, and again, just like the younger kids, the youth group were very attentive, respectful, and but also it was something that was useful to them because they had not encountered a lot of the scenarios, how to introduce your boss to a friend, or how to, none of them had tie-to-tie in their lives. So it was just useful skills that I'm glad that we could pass on to them. And then this is their little farewell. This is now back from the youth group to the younger kids who we spent most of our time with during the week. This is kind of their farewell program. It was sort of akin to kind of like the Vacation Bible School kids come into the church service and sing all the songs they learned during the Vacation Bible School. But then after all those Vacation Bible School songs, they did kind of a traditional Honduran dress and dance with the kids with each other, and then the kids came into the crowd and grabbed our hands, and we danced with them a little bit. So that was very fun. But also, if you pay close attention or look extra close, you can see that the boys and the girls have their little tie-dye handkerchiefs tied around their necks. So it felt like a little bit of cultural exchange. Ready. And then the second time that we spent, this was the whole day with the youth group, we went to Copan, which are the Mayan ruins in Honduras, and this is about a 4-hour drive from Santa Elena, the little community that we spent most of our time in. And but yeah, Copan is extremely well preserved, ancient Mayan ruins. You see this picture of us on the step pyramid, our group with all of the youth group and their teachers, and then AJ on the right there. And then this red structure behind here is just a replica recreation of what, not that step pyramid, but one of the more impressive step pyramids would look like if it was intact today. But all this to say, it was a incredibly significant experience for us, just because it's in just beautiful history that you wouldn't otherwise see in our part of the world, but also especially significant for the kids, the youth group kids, because one thing that AJ really wants to give to the kids in the Mission on the Move program is just an experience and a pride of their own culture and their own history. So he is really thankful for churches like our own that can finance big, bombastic trips, field trips to historical places, you know, some of the UNESCO World Heritage sites in their own country. So it's just very significant that they got to go. Oh, and also just a personal thing, the tour guide, his name is Juan Carlos. There's me with Juan Carlos, and then you might know my real name is John Charles, so Juan Carlos with Juan Carlos. So, yeah. All right, and that's all.
Well, so that the place we went is called Copan Ruinas, and right at the beginning, the place, the ruins are called Copan Ruinas, and there's a small colonial town right next to it, right beyond the ruins. And we could not go into the town with the bus because the bus was higher than the arch that enters the town. So we were told by AJ, well, we're just going to walk a couple of blocks to the restaurant. That couple of blocks was uphill on cobblestone streets where I don't get it, but because neither the Mayans nor the Spanish conquistadores were very tall people, but the steps are like this big, and you're trying to get up on the sidewalk, and you're an old lady like me. Anyway, it turned out to be about 5 blocks to this restaurant, which was called Llama del Bosque. And we don't really know what that means because there's several possibilities. Does it mean call of the forest? That's very romantic. Does it mean a llama in the forest? Or does it mean a forest fire? So anyway, it was a lovely restaurant, and the children got the opportunity there to practice the manners that they had learned the day before, and they all comported themselves beautifully. And I was especially proud of the girls. There's 7 girls and 18 boys in this youth group. So 5 out of the 7 girls volunteered to stand up and say something to the group. And they were all basically expressing their thanks for the opportunity and things. And then one of the girls said the blessing for our meal. So that was our lovely, some of the best food we had in Honduras, by the way. Oh, that's you.
Hi everyone, I'm Alice. Nice to meet you, and thank you for letting me go on this mission trip. It was honestly life-changing. So after lunch, we were not going to walk anywhere, so we had about 15 golf carts. They're not golf carts. Tuk-tuks. They're called tuk-tuks. As you can see right up here, we piled into those and drove on the Cobble Street Road down lots of big hills to the McCall Mountain Bird Park. We had a really great time here. So many birds. There's probably thousands of birds, and they rehabilitate them and then let them out in the community. And when we were out the ruins, there was just macaws flying around. It was almost like Jurassic Park. You could hear them, and it didn't sound like regular birds. But we had a really great time. You can see AJ looking at some birds right there, and then some videos, and then we all got a chance to take pictures by the birds, sit down next to them, and just interact with them. It was very, very cool. Children absolutely loved it. And also about Copan, some of the kids were born there, not raised there, but born there, and they went back to see that how it was and just go back to where they're from, and they had a really great experience.
Well, one of the needs that we identified pre-mission trip was for the children to have school shoes. And I'm always in favor of injecting money into the local economy rather than taking things from here. So it turns out that there is a cobbler who lives about 10 miles up the mountain. And he agreed to make 100 pairs of shoes for $21 a shoe. And here he took the measurement of each child's foot, and here he is making shoes. So, and we were able to do this thanks to a very kind donation from a friend of Pat Monahan's.
I'm going to talk about the children of Honduras. They're very special to us, and I probably cried 5 times during the trip just because of how touched I was by all the children and how grateful, happy, and just humble they are in general. I had a really good experience with Zara as Miss Ann was talking. I know no Spanish whatsoever, so all the little kids were trying to talk to me, asked me to push them. I didn't know what they were saying, so Sarah came beside me and helped me translate everything through the whole trip. And then when we were going to leave, she handed me a little note that said, "Thank you for being such a good friend. Like, I hope you come back." I cried for like an hour after that. It was so sweet. But she was amazing. Just like Miss Ann said, she helped us a lot. And then we were at the mission, which is Mom on the Mission, which is Mission on the Move. And then in the mission, there's the Cadle Community Center for the Disabled. And you can see that right up here. We got the opportunity to go into the classroom when they were learning and just play with them, play with Play-Doh, and just have a great time. And they were very excited about that. And then we also were at the Oaks of Righteousness a bunch, which you can see Skip and Sheila right up there with the kids taking little family photos, which is very cute. And then we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but there's this playground up here that we all helped build, and the kids would not get off of it the whole time we were there. It was such a great experience just seeing them out there and loving the equipment and playing on it. And now we're going to have Denise come up here to talk about construction.
So Alice was my roomie.
Yes.
We were the 2 newbies on the trip. So I'm Denise, for anyone who doesn't know me. And I think I got nominated or voluntold that I was speaking on behalf of the construction team, but happy to do so. Let's see, what am I, okay. So it was an amazing trip as this being my first trip. It's hard to know what to expect when you go there. But everything that's been talked about tonight is absolutely true. And I even have a tissue with me because I really hope I'm not going to cry. I will try. But the other members of the team, Rusty Holt and Mike Hawes, and where's Jake? Is Jake? Oh, Jake. Jake is right there. And unfortunately, our fearless leader, Pat Monahan, is not here tonight, but we certainly couldn't have done this without him. And I'm very grateful that these men invited me in to be one of the boys for the week and to get to join the construction team, because that was a prerequisite of my going on the trip.
Be the first on the trip.
So when we think about a home, when we think about a house, we think very differently than the type of home that many of these people live in. And it's a very, I'm going to cry. It's a very humbling experience to understand the conditions in which many of the people live, and in particular the people of Santa Elena that we served. Some of their dwellings are, very rudimentary, simply tarps and remnants of other pieces that make a shelter. So having the opportunity to improve the lives, even with very simple structures, for this community was very meaningful. And you can see the house that was built. I think that was one from maybe from the previous year, at a cost of $2,000 for materials. So that's money that this church has been providing to fund the materials for that. The homeowner is asked to provide the floor, which is a concrete floor. And we go in, and the posts have already been set so that we can be efficient with our time. So that was one of Pat's brilliant ideas, to have that done so we can be very efficient. So we built 2 homes in 3 days, and we also had some other projects that I'll talk about in just a moment. So I mentioned who was on the team. The homes are very small. They're about 192 square feet. So if you think about, that's probably about the same size as a living room or bedroom for many of us, and that is their home. Most of them have a kitchen that's outside. They have an outhouse that's also outside. And with as little land as they have for dwelling, they use every square inch and do so very efficiently. Some of the homes you couldn't even see where the outhouse was, because they find a way to try and be discreet. And to see, like, most of the area is exposed dirt. They have very heavy rains, so having vegetation grow somewhere, especially when you always have constant foot traffic, as you can imagine, is very hard. So even though the outside yard is typically dirt, it is absolutely amazing to see how clean and pristine these children are when they go to school and when they came to BBS. They have turquoise dresses or skirts and pants and starched white shirts that they look like they just came out of, from the dry cleaners, and it's just absolutely amazing to see that experience. The sidewalk that we're standing on in this picture was funded by Wesley and provides a really important connection for many people. It's my understanding prior to this that this became basically a mud slip and slide when it was really rainy, and it really kept people from being able to access their homes. So it was really important project that Wesley provided the funding to be able to do that, and it really shows you the impact that we can have from far away. So these are some photos of us building houses, and it was a great experience. The family that you can see both in the upper corner and then the lower right corner, that particular house would be is now lived in by a family with 2 small children. And as soon as those walls were up, those 2 little kids ran in and just started just playing around, and the smiles on their faces were absolutely priceless. Like, to see the experience that they were having in seeing a structure that was so basic and so simple, but yet brought them such joy, was tremendous. Each of the houses have a very simple door. Having a door is a big deal. Many of the homes only have a curtain. So having a secure closure was an important thing that we're able to provide with these houses as well. And you can see, I think that's Mike up in the middle, right next to kind of the dirt. There were some tight quarters that we were working in and having to be very creative about how we moved around. And then the little girl in the upper right, y'all, she came back from VBS. She still had her beautiful white dress on, and she saw that we had been building, and she immediately went and picked up some scraps and started building her own little house. And it was just the most precious thing that you can even imagine. And then in the bottom, that's how we got around. So the houses are a partnership or through Camino, which is different than Mission on the Move. But we are able to work with Camino in this area to be able to build these houses. And Chad shuttled us around the back of his, 1985 Land Cruiser that's barely holding on. But hey, for there, it works, and it works really well. So after we have the houses constructed, we got them painted, and we were actually able to do 2 coats on both houses. And the kids, again, when they came back from VBS, they just jumped right in. They wanted to find a paintbrush, and they were a part of the action, and they tried to reach just as high as they could possibly reach. But they just had a blast. This little girl here is the same one who was building the house in the other picture. And she was just so precious and so careful with that big, huge roller, and just so meticulous and so proud in everything she was doing. And then you can see in the bottom right where the concrete floor is being put down. And again, this is really important in the very rainy season. This elevates the home and helps to keep everything dry. The families that move into these houses, again, just like we talked about, we're so happy and so grateful. And just such a joy to see the expression on their face. Alice and I, as the newbies, had the opportunity to pray for the new families that were moving into this. I think we both had to keep our prayers short, or else we were just going to be like waterworks coming down. I know I was. But it really is just such an amazing experience that you just really can't put into words until you're there to witness it. We also had the opportunity to build 2 playgrounds. So the first playground, again, this was in partnership with Mission on the Move, was in a little square that's right outside of the Catholic Church. And this is the day that we built it. And the next day we went back. We had to leave the swings up for the concrete to dry. The next day we went to take the swings down. The kids were like lining up around it. They could not wait to get on those swings. So it was absolutely adorable. And then we also had the much larger one that was built there on the Mission on the Move campus. Oh, I don't have to do that one. Okay. And the other thing that we did is we also deconstructed, or demolished, I guess is a better word. I think that was like maybe the favorite project, get the big sledgehammer and just knock down an old decrepit playground that was no longer safe, so we were able to make it safer for the community. So it was a wonderful experience, and I'm so grateful to have been able to be a part of it. Gentlemen, did I miss anything? No, you got it all. All right.
Thank you. You want to come up now?
I'm glad we had Denise do that, because she was a whole lot better than the rest of us, I promise you. She did a much better job. All I wanted to do was thank the people that have donated, because without your donation, without the church, without the missions committee, we couldn't do this. But we'd love to have some younger people. Jake and I are getting older. Mike, you're still younger, so so we're recruiting. But I'd like to thank Tom and Reverend Dr. Nell Bordeaux, excuse me, Jim and Karen Pinnell, John and Kimberly Pinnell, Matt and Avery West, John and Claire Watts, Lenny and Dr. Karen Penzita, Carl and Ann Ellers. They all donated, and as you've seen in all the slides, we paid for everything that was up there through these donations and the committee. And then there was one other that we needed to thank. I cannot pronounce the name, so Joanne, where'd she go? Pronounce the name. I'll move out of the way.
No, that's okay. Is it on? Yeah. Hello? Okay. Maria, I have to remember what her name is. Maria Eugenia Aviles de Arias, who was the First Lady of Copan Ruinas. And she very kindly donated part of the money to get the children into the sanctuary, the bird sanctuary. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to take them there. So we are very thankful to her.
And the last thing is all the committee, everybody on the committee that went, all the team, we paid for our own, we also donated because we paid for our own trip there, our own travel. So that's just part of what we do. That's just part of where it is. So thank you for your support. And the newbies did a great job.
And really think about it, but you need to know that the only skills you need are a love of Christ and a love of Christ's kingdom. And don't hesitate. Language is not a barrier when there's love. There's no problem with the children, and there's no problem with the staff. We communicate with our hands, we communicate with songs, we communicate with different VBS things that we bring, and it's just, don't hesitate if it comes to cultural differences or language differences. It should not, that should not scare you at all, and I encourage you to take it to prayer and consider it, please.
First of all, get out of your comfort zone. It is a plunge. It is a decision that only you can make. It's a decision that will affect your family, will affect your friends, it'll affect your church, it'll affect all that you do in your life. Seeing that these children are so well cared for in an environment where there's not a lot of amenities that they have, but they do with what they have, and with love and care, and the teams that visit, it will leave you changed. When you go back to your home in the United States, you will, I promise you, you will be a changed person.
First, I would say do it. Even if you don't have a team that's going from the church you're a part of, or if you don't have a church that's your home church, there are lots of lovely teams. Some of the best people I've met have been little add-ons to our team over the years. So first and foremost, do it. There's a way to do it.
Do it. That's the easiest answer. You hear it all the time, just do it. But a lot of people think they need a specific skill set. You don't need a specific skill set. You need to just come and allow yourself to be used in whatever way. So if it's just, you're good at washing dishes, well, just wash the dishes. If you're good at hanging out with the kids, hang out with the kids. There's something for everyone. So don't go in this thinking, I don't have a skill set that's useful, because all skill sets are useful.
I think you shouldn't think too long about it, just do it. You will get a lot out of it. And once you come and meet these people, you get such an affection for them, you will want to come back time and again.
I would say do it, no questions asked. It's life-changing. The kids are so grateful. They love you, and I never want to leave.
So Pat Monahan couldn't be here today. He's been chair of the missions committee for the last couple of years. I chaired it before him. One of the things that I enjoy is being able to administrate this trip every year, kind of recruiting who comes and kind of thinking things through. But while we talk about the great time we have, about the good work we do, I just want to tell you very briefly about one young man. There's a man by the name of Jose Vegas Chacon who showed up at the work site one day and started working along with the guys at the construction site. We came to understand that he has a little brother and sister that are in that program. When he was 8 years old, he was working in a machine shop, drilling metal all day long because his parents had died when he was 5 years old. And when you live someplace like Honduras, there are no social services, period. So about 12, 13, he ended up at a mall in San Pedro Sula where he basically slept in the parking lot. The pizza place gave him free pizza, and he got paid cents on the dollar to paint the mall. And along the way, he ran into AJ the missionary, and AJ said to Jose, why don't you come with your kids up to Mission on the Move? And he's 19 years old. He's going back to 9th grade to start all over again. And in that whole process, he's decided he wants to be a doctor. And he knew that English was important. So on Duolingo, he's taught himself English. And his story is replicated in every one of those kids you saw. And sometimes we don't quite realize it. We as a church are very involved with mission locally. We do this exact same work with Mission on the Move. We do this exact same work with Urban Hope. So we're doing it at home. But AJ came to visit one time and he said, I'm looking up in your stained glass window and it has a little globe and it says my parish. And that kind of is Wesley Monumental. And so if you want to learn more, scan this QR code. This is AJ, who is one of the greatest pastoral people I know. And he'll be here in May or whatever. But one thing he did is he sent us something for Ben Martin. If you don't know, Ben's been around Mission on the Move, since your Springfield days. And even though we go, his leadership allows us to go do that. I mean, he's going to be modest and say, no, it doesn't. But he gives us the ability to do that in his leadership. So AJ sent a stole for you, and he just wanted to say thank you for being a pastor that leads a church that serves across the world. So thank you, Ben. And if you would like to go next year, it's the 3rd through the 12th, I think. So if you're interested, please let Nell or I know. And you are not too old to go, right, Jake?
Right. And you do not have to speak Spanish.
And you don't have to speak Spanish because there are enough Spanish speakers to help you. So.
No, if you get a chance, I've done a few times, both in Honduras and in Tapachula, and it's a life-changing experience. So I'm always excited to see some of our folks get to make that trip and experience. So hope you'll go. Thanks to the mission team. And thanks to the mission team for going.
AJ also got all of the ladies are zarapes, so that's what you're seeing tonight. We're sporting our Honduran